Hey,
Ethan.
getting it going. Hey, Michael.
Hey. Hi, Vicky.
Hey, Michael. Hey, Ethan.
Vicky, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And hello to everybody out there on the internet. My name is Ethan Iverson, and I'm very happy to be moderating the watch party of a new video. This video is documenting a piece by Michael Gordon, and it's being performed by Vicky Chow. And I have sort of a history with this piece because I'm a jazz pianist. If you wake me up in the middle of the night and say, Ethan, what are you? You do so many things, but what are you really? I would say I'm a jazz pianist. But I love classical music as well, and I love the classical repertoire. And I saw Vicky do a concert in 2016, in 2016 at Roulette. And she closed with this piece, Sonatra by Michael Gordon. And I felt a seismic shift in my consciousness because, as I say, I know a lot of the piano repertoire, and there are these sort of landmark pieces, the Goldberg variations, long and hard, the Hammer Clavier Sonata of Beethoven, the Ravel Piano Concerto, the Ligeti Etudes, like big pieces that mean something to pianists in terms of a milestone. And I thought I might have heard a milestone. Might be a little too early to say yet in 2021 if Sonatra is that level of milestone, but I've heard very few pieces that impressed me quite like this one did. I eventually wrote about it for the New Yorker and have managed to meet Vicky and Michael through my advocacy of it. So that's been really cool. I should say a few press things, which I'll be repeating throughout this watch party. Which, by the way, I should maybe just tell you viewers what we're about to do. We're going to chat for about 15 minutes. Then we're going to listen to and watch the great new video for about 15 minutes. And then we'll take a few questions. There's some sort of way you can send in some questions and they'll get texted to me. And if I like your question, then I will send it on to Michael and Vicky, or perhaps answer it myself. The video is up on Apple Music. It's available on Bandcamp. As we all know, this is the wonderful, sort of the best streaming service for musicians. The best way to buy the music is on Bandcamp. But there are also 20 copies of the LP left. Michael, you got that there to show us, the LP?
Whoa.
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous LP, and it's got two versions on it, because this is a sort of a modular composition in several ways. It's got one in normal intonation and one in just intonation. And it's also got the score, which is also very beautiful. And I bought my vinyl and was pleased to have the score, and I filed it on my shelf. I was like, this is actually, I'm really happy to file this LP. It really joins the Beethoven symphonic cycle and the complete Charlie Parker and stuff like that. I was very, very happy to get it. Please do buy tickets to the streaming performances, not just here at Bang on the Can, but this is a horrible year for all the performing arts. If you have the money, when people ask you to donate for watching some live video, please throw it in. For the ongoing Bang on a Can live streaming event, all $100 ticket buyers will receive a signed copy, a signed vinyl copy of Sonatra with that score. Okay, with the housekeeping done, I think I'd just like to start in with Michael and say, tell us something about the name Sonatra.
Okay, well, Sonata. I couldn't resist. It's the piece is really abstract music, and I think when you look back at the at classical music, all those sonatas, one of the things that's great about them is it's just music, and but I couldn't call it sonata. Had to kind of tip my hat to popular music, and so I combined Sinatra and sonata.
I have a feeling there are no sonatas in the Bang on the Can repertoire.
Vicky, do the Bang on a Can All Stars play anything called sonata?
Not to my knowledge. But that could change.
There's always a future first.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny if you Google Sinatra, it actually asks you if you mean Sinatra. So it's sort of a cute word that way. Um, Vicky, let's ask you about the piece. Why don't you explain a little bit about how you came to play it and maybe what it's like to play it?
Sure. Um, yeah, so Michael had approached me about his piece, Sonatra, like 10 years ago. And I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, would I be able to do this? Um,
Because I
and
think we should maybe, to make the question more clear, Sinatra is very difficult. It's
yes.
very, very difficult. So proceed, Vicky.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you listen to the piece, like it might be deceiving. Like it might not sound that difficult because, like, you're just like, well, it's just arpeggios. You know, how difficult are arpeggios? Well, what you, what one might not immediately hear is that it's literally a different arpeggio every single time, and it's like a different iteration, um, starting on a different note, and it's a different combination, and they're kind of like two sets like of arpeggios. It's if you have a starting note of C, it could go up to E flat. So it's like a minor major combination. But on one note, C, you can have two different arpeggios already. So it could be like C, E flat, and then E flat to G, G to B flat. But it could also be C to E natural, E to G, and then a minor, and then G to B. So even within just for one note, there are two different arpeggios, and of course, the length of it and how short it is and how where it starts, it changes the fingerings on the piano, um, and then also it never repeats itself. So that's one of the obstacle courses is just knowing like where to turn and which note it's starting on and which iteration of the arpeggio.
Well, it seems to me you're talking a little bit about how important, sorry, how hard it is to hear, to follow it by ear. And it's sort of ironic, I think, that the piece has a reference to a great singer, Sinatra, because this is the least vocal music imaginable. Maybe if to be totally didactic for a moment, if you sing, probably the interval you sing the most is our seconds. La da 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 da. I mean, if you go 8 notes, you've got a scale. Da 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 da. Okay, so this piece is all in thirds.
Mm-hmm.
So you're already is going up 5 times, then to go up 9 times, you're already doing something that's vocally impossible. And what you're talking about in terms of the chromatic shifts is each little one of these arpeggios is constantly giving you a new thing to hear that's completely not vocal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a coloristic change that is so subtle. Like, it's just like paint color. There's different shades of, different blues, and, one might not be able to tell immediately by looking at it, but it is slightly different. And I can show you just like at the very, very beginning, just
Please.
like yeah. So yeah, I'll just demonstrate to see how subtle these changes are.
Fantastic. And at some points, it reverses, right?
Yeah. So you have that kind of happening for the first few minutes of the piece. The arpeggios get shorter and shorter, and you end up at the very top register of the piano. Um, and let's see. So where is that moment? Okay, so eventually you're up here, and then it flips backwards, and this is what it sounds like. Yeah. So it keeps going like that, and as you can tell, it's getting longer and longer until it starts spanning the entire length of the keyboard. So you have something like this. Yeah, so it begins the contracting again, or expanding,
And,
before it lands into the low register.
and the devastating final development are the glissandos.
Yeah, but actually before that, it takes it. Michael takes it up another level where you have, up until this point, it's just been singular lines. Somewhere it becomes two hands. Yeah. And
It's pretty unfriendly, Michael. It's a little unfriendly there.
yeah,
Um,
and
yeah, no comment right now. I mean, I think, it's only unfriendly until you've mastered it, and then you can gloat.
Okay. Can you demonstrate the two hands working at once, Vicky?
yeah, sure. So after about like 9 minutes, then the piece gets harder and harder and harder. So yeah, it's like it's really difficult to continue that concentration. So okay, here it goes. Yeah, I need to practice.
And so then, well, it's almost like a computer game where each level gets harder, and then you're up against the final boss. Which, I mean, I'm never going to play this piece. I haven't tried, but I sort of feel like those glissandos are the final boss.
Well, actually, it's like surprisingly, that is not the trickiest thing in the piece. Um, once I get to the glissandos, like my brain can kind of rest, because then like one hand can just do this one gesture while I concentrate on the arpeggios. The most difficult part is actually when it starts cascading, when it starts moving down, and before the arpeggio ends, another one starts on top of it. So it's just like this parallel motion.
Oh, look at that.
Let me demonstrate that a little bit, probably under tempo. It is always a challenge. I work on it nonstop, and I can never get it just right. There's always something that happens, because my eyes are darting back and forth between like the bottom and the top, and I'm just the coordination doing this. And again, it's the starting note is always different, and of course it just changes all the time. And yeah, that is probably the most difficult part in like the last 5 minutes. Yeah.
Michael, do you play piano?
Yes, I play piano. I play the piano. I think this piece is a lot about my relationship with the piano. I mean, when you write for other instruments, and you're a composer and you play any instrument, you think, it's very natural to think I'm writing for flute, but I'm thinking about it as a pianist, or I'm thinking about it as a, whatever, as a violinist, and in a certain sense, you can tell, you can look at music and go, oh yeah, these flute lines are written by a pianist, and about 25 years ago, I was just like, okay, I'm writing music that falls under these fingers. And so I just stopped playing, and I stopped using the piano. I just started writing music without any instruments. And I think, Vicky's played a bunch of my chamber music, and my piano parts have always been very simple, actually, mostly because I haven't wanted to, I didn't want to think of them as a pianist, and I didn't want to think about them as not a pianist almost, so I just kind of have, I've wrote very simple piano parts, and when I started this piece, I just decided there were two things. One is, okay, I'm not a pianist anymore. I'm not possibly ever going to play this piece. This piece has to be impossible. I couldn't even play the first 5 measures of this piece, right? It's got to be out of the realm of possibility for me to be able to write a piano piece. And the second thing is that I just decided, look, the piano is such an amazing instrument. It's higher than any other instrument in the orchestra, and it's lower than any other instrument in the orchestra. And most piano music, 95% of all piano music, or the 99%, let's say, of all piano music, is right in the middle. And I just decided, I've got to use every note. I've got to start at the bottom. I've got to go to the top, and I've got to be using all the, just spread out the palette, of what the piano is, and and that's where I started, basically, with those two, those two ideas, and yeah. That's it. That's my history with the piano. It's
Well, the expression of virtuosity is a wonderful aesthetic. It's like if you see someone do something magnificent in athletics, you can burst out crying because you realize
true.
This person has transcended physics for a moment, and this piece gives that opportunity for Vicky to deliver that kind of like transcendent effect. Maybe I'll also plug a new book by Will Robin called Industry, which is about the maybe first 2 decades of Bang on the Can. And one of the things I sort of learned was like how the Bang on the Can All-Stars and so forth started was really about a sort of almost a new generation of performers who were virtuosos in a way that was kind of hip and a little aggressive, very rhythmic. The musicians had finally arrived that were willing to take on these 20-minute process pieces that would drive like John Henry drives a train. So the book is excellent. I learned a lot reading it. And let me just do this little bit of housekeeping again. We're about to watch the video. The film is by Suki Medui, and it's on Randy Ezrati's piano. The piano is actually in just intonation. It's not out of tune. It's in just intonation. The video is now up on Apple Music. There are still a few copies left to buy of the LP. The LP is a fabulous object with 2 different versions of the piece in regular intonation and just intonation. It's also signed and has a score. So snag one of those 20, they'll probably be gone today. But if you just choose to support the series and get the $100 streaming series on Bang on a Can, that's actually a nice gift they also will send you. So with that, I think it's time to watch Sonatra, the new movie. And when we return, we'll take another 10 or 15 minutes worth of questions. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Vicky.
Great.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks, Vicky.
Thanks, Michael.
Oh,
Incredible. Oh, unreal.
Thank you, thank you so much.
I'm like, I'm vibrating right now, right here in my chair, having experienced that. What's up with the crowd of people drinking wine around you at one moment? Or maybe that's not to be talked about. I don't know.
It's either like the audience was like already there, or it's just like the friends that I'm playing for. In my
Beautiful.
head, yeah.
yeah,
Beautiful.
we've got to thank Randy Azrati for that piano, and especially
Yeah.
for allowing us to retune his piano into just intonation for this video, which is kind of an incredible thing for him to have let us do. And Suki Madure, who filmed the the piece, she uses natural light, and it was literally she she was filming. It was like, can we do another take? And she's like, no, the light is gone. You can see the beautiful it's got a beautiful look. But Vicky, that's I don't know how you do that, but it's so incredible.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, I think when we were recording that, we just did two takes. Like as you said, like Suki was like, "Oh, the light is gone. We only had a window of like a couple hours in the afternoon," and yeah, it was really incredible. And thank you, Randy. And yeah, it's been really rewarding working on your piece, Sonatra. And I look forward to continuing to explore the piece over like my lifetime. So hopefully, by the time I'm 60, I can play it in 5 minutes.
It's like the 4 minute mile, right? It's like the 5 minute
I
Sinatra.
see. I see a question came in. Um, Vicky, will you be jealous if any other pianists play Sinatra?
Oh, totally not. No, I I would love to hear someone else perform this and hear what they do with it, and also talk to them about the challenges to overcome all the difficulty. Yeah, no, I would. It would be really wonderful if there were more pianists performing this work. It's
I'll be
definitely.
jealous though.
And what about what you're looking at? That must be an iPad, right? Is that what you're looking at, Vicky?
Yeah. Um, in the early days before the iPad, I definitely had, uh, a paper score. And I remember one of the first early performances of it I did was at Mass Mocha in the summer festival, at the Bangladesh Summer Festival. And my friend Carl Larson, also a fantastic, wonderful pianist, he was page turning for me. And he was like, oh, that was like the most nerve wracking thing. Yeah. But I wouldn't be have been able to learn this music or perform it without the iPad and the four score. It's being able to
What
notate everything.
what's Fourscore, Vicky?
Oh, it is an app that you can get on like iOS. I don't know if it's available on Androids or anything, but it's used to read sheet music scores. So basically, any PDF that you have, you can load it into this app on the iPad, and you connect it with a Bluetooth pedal, and I can change and turn pages as I'm playing with
And
my feet.
with your feet, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, question for Michael. How long did it take you to write the piece? It's about 15 minutes, but
Yeah, I have no idea. I can't even remember. The piece I think is from 2003 or 2004. I wrote it for Lisa Moore, who played the premiere back then, and then it kind of sat around for um, another 12 years or so until Vicky played it. But I I blanked out the process of composing it.
that's fair enough. Vicky, does playing this cause great physical fatigue, or is it even dangerous?
Um, possibly, yes. I mean, if you're not using the correct technique to to the instrument, playing any kind of difficult technical passages can cause strain to your muscles, to your arms and your back. And for this piece, I definitely had to build a stamina, like especially with the focus on the score, and of course a physical stamina too. Um, yeah, I mean it's definitely not a walk in the park. Like I have to gear myself up and mentally prepare every time I have to play it.
Um, well, Michael, maybe I'll ask you about what you and Vicky have been doing recently, because as everybody in this game has been facing down a year of where everything shut down, but the two of you have actually done a new collaboration. Can you tell us about that, Michael?
Yeah, well, we last spring when we all were kind of quarantined, I just started writing these 1 minute pieces, or 1 minute or less. It's not, hadn't been anything I had ever done until then, but I just wanted to kind of have a feeling like I was getting something done. And, it wasn't like I wanted to work on something for months and months. So I would write these pieces and email them over to Vicky, and Vicky started playing them and sending me back little videos, and we compiled a whole bunch of them. There were 31 of them, and we decided, okay, we're just going to Instagram them out every day in July, and the collection is called July. There are 31 pieces. We got a fantastic choreographer and dancer and friend, Brian Brooks, to join the collaboration. So every day in July of last year, Vicky Instagrammed out one of the pieces, and Brian got the music when Vicky Instagrammed them out. And that day he would make a dance piece, and he Instagrammed out his version of the dance piece by, usually that evening. So we had a nice little project going, and it's a nice collection of pieces that are actually very pianistic, and we're recording them, I think,
Next
Vicky,
week.
next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I really enjoyed watching those pieces on Instagram, and I can tell the people at home that they're not really like Sonatra. They are actually playable piano pieces. And I look forward to actually being able to play those pieces myself when I finally get the score, unlock some of the mysteries of Michael Gordon's music. I think we have maybe the last question here is about just intonation, and why just intonation, and was it originally planned for both normal and just intonation?
Let's talk about why equal temperament and not why just intonation,
Nice.
right? Because equal temperament is the compromised tuning, and that basically allows you to modulate to other keys. But I think really it was started in the mid 19th century by a British piano company, so that they could ship pianos all over the world and have some kind of standard tuning. And so everybody that plays a string instrument or even wind instruments know that tuning is a very flexible thing. Just intonation, it's now sounds weird to us, but we've got to remember that all those, like you were talking about the Goldberg variations, those harpsichord pieces that all the music written for harpsichord was written a lot. Keyboards were tuned in just intonation, and then the intonation was slowly adjusted so that you could modulate and so forth. I think it's a beautiful color, and adds a lot of it adds a lot of depth to the sound for me personally. I don't know, Vicky, if how it feels playing. Is it different playing one version or another, playing on an equal temperament piano?
Um, just slightly, because sometimes I feel like, oh, am I playing a wrong note? But that's because my ears are so accustomed to the equal temperament. Um, and I remember like kind of experimenting with micro tuning as well, and like different tunings other than just intonation with for this in the recording process. And I found that with just intonation, you maintain like the dramatic force of the piece, and like the range, versus when I tried it on like a micro, like I don't know, a 22 note octave like tuning or something. All of a sudden, these arpeggios that span the entire keyboard sounded really really small, really kind of dinky, like 2 octaves, and so like the impact of the piece, it just completely changed the work. So I thought it was best to, I think, at least for the recording, yeah, definitely just keep it in something that was similar to equal, but just a little bit different. Yeah.
Let's also give a shout out to Argeo Ascani, who produced the recording of Sinatra, and also dealt with the just intonation retuning of the pianos at MPAC,
Yes.
where the recording was made. So thank you, Argeo.
My impression is that things have changed a little bit over the years, perhaps thanks to groups like Bang on the Can, where at one point, if you wanted to come in and tune the pianos differently, they just told you no. But now, once in a while, you can just barely get by with retuning, the house piano and so forth. I think we're about to wrap it up. This is a question I just came in. I think I'll rephrase it. It's just a question about, is this music for a Bang on a Can audience or the general audience? Who's it for? And what I would like to say is actually speak about myself again. And this was sort of my entry point into the world of Bang on a Can. I actually had heard music. I'd been to a marathon. I'd shared the bill with Bang on the Can and the All Stars in Minneapolis one time. I've heard various things over the years, but I wasn't a Bang on the Can fanboy exactly. There's a lot of music out there, and I just hadn't really gotten to it yet. And then this piece knocked my socks off, and I was like, okay, time to get into some Bang on the Can. And so just to answer this question just about myself, it's like, wow, this was really a beautiful gateway piece for me. And also it's just so, I love pianists so much. That's my instrument. I just love Vicky Chow so much. I love her virtuosity and the way she lights up this piece for anyone to dig. And I think that's probably about it. I'm going to do the housekeeping again in terms of what we should say. This is the film. This was the watch party for a film, which is now up on Apple Music if you want to watch it again. Filmed by Suki Medui, who I learned from Michael now did the whole thing in natural lighting, and it was just 2 takes. I honestly, going in, I thought this was gonna be like 100 takes in a whole other situation. That's even more impressive. There are a few copies left to buy on vinyl. The vinyl is a great item. Can we see that again, Michael? You want to hold that up for us? Sensational. I mean, what a cover shot too.
Look at that.
It's really great. We signed, and there's the 2 versions of it, one in normal intonation and one in just intonation. They're both kind of sing-along, really. They're sort of like a sing-along record.
And the score is inside the album, so
exactly. So when you start singing, you can just bust out the score and get in there. Of course, it's on all the streaming services, the albums, but especially go to Bandcamp. That's the best way to support musicians, is Bandcamp. And the Cantaloupe label, which is the Bang on the Can label, is on Bandcamp, and there's a lot of great stuff from Cantaloupe. Please support Bang on a Can by attending more of the streaming events during this pandemic year, and $100 gets you the vinyl as a special gift. So Ethan, I think that's about it.
I just want to say, Ethan, I got a text from Julie, my wife, that just said, Ethan is great.
All right, I'll take it.
Thank you.
Well, she's a great composer too. Wow, amazing. So, all right, well, we're wrapping it up here. That's Vicky Chow, Michael Gordon, Bang on a Can. I'm moderator Ethan Iverson, and this has been the incredible Sonatra.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Vicky. Thanks, Ethan. Thanks for watching.
Bye. See you next time.